Tracy Cartwright in the house.
Hey, Jackie. So exciting.
So excited. Oh my God, it's like a monumental historical time right now, Tracy.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're my first official podcast guest.
Wow, that's
yeah.
so cool. Thank you.
So yeah, haere mai from my heart place to your heart place to Heart Place Hospital podcast.
Thank you. What an
Yeah.
honor. What an honor
Yeah.
to be here and just to have, to be the first guest. And I can feel so much is going to flow from this. This is amazing. Well done, Jackie.
Thank you, and you. So we first met, I was thinking about it, we first met about August, September 2021, and we're now February 2024, and we met online. I'm not sure about you, but I was definitely in lockdown, and we were meant to be meeting in person with our crew of sisters, but instead we were meeting online, and that was when I first really heard about Family Constellations, or first really understood that Family Constellations wasn't about the stars.
Yeah, that's such a common misconception.
Yeah. So that was my first experience. So I was an observer, and it blew my mind actually. And then since then we've met in person. We've had a few play dates. Few giggles, and we've also together we've co-created a drum birthing workshop. And when you said drum birthing, I was like, just making a drum, whatevs. But it really was that. Really truly was.
It really
exactly
is birthing.
Yeah, definitely. So but that's my experience with you, but I'd love you to share kind of your journey and how you got to where you are today, and I'd love for our listeners to hear that too.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Well, it's quite a journey, but I'm going to try and simplify it a little bit for you. So my early parts of my life, I experienced a lot of trauma, and there was no assistance, no support, no resources given to me. And at the same time, I was also a very clear seer. So I had connection with the spirit realms, and I was hearing and seeing and feeling different things. And in my family, that wasn't a safe way to be, because my family had a big story around mental health and looking good in public. So my life at that point was really pushed down. And so as I grew in my early teens, it started to rise up again, really big, because that's often a time when things start to transition and your gifts start to come through again, heighten because the hormones are changing, your chakras are opening more. So I turned to drugs and alcohol to numb, and also I experienced more trauma around that time as well. So there was just this compounding trauma. How would I describe it? After a colourful marriage,
well done.
I found myself looking for what my heart was calling and what my soul was calling me. And I was still at that time dipping in and out. I had quite a bit of sexual abuse trauma on top of the other traumas that I had experienced. And so I was dipping in and out of getting counselling and help, and then I'd come out and I'd step into this modality, and then I'd find that it was all overwhelming. And then I don't know, I was blessed to have received the opportunity to sit in the hot seat with someone who was visiting from America at a wānanga I was at in Wellington, and they were doing Family Constellations. And for me, I got to sit in the hot seat I've experienced, so just wind back a little bit, my dad was diagnosed as terminal. So that's what put me in the hot seat. And because of my inner child rose up fearful and concerned that I was never going to feel loved, I was going to die, I wouldn't know where I belonged in the family, blah, blah, blah. So I did this constellation. I could see through a completely different lens after it. And it wasn't at all painful. It was insightful and beautiful and clearing for me. And as I sat there in the hot seat afterwards, I was like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. This is the work that I've been put here to do. So I had a real deep understanding of the field straight away. And yeah, and I had already made the promise to myself that I would be on my path, whatever that looked like. So I was inviting the universe to show me what it was I was meant to do. And then I met Family Constellations. So yeah, it was such a beautiful beautiful experience. And then all the traumas and the things that I had experienced, I was able to take them from being here in my face and constantly overwhelming me to actually the resources behind me now. The things that have happened, I can't change them, but I can change how I respond to them. And now they're resources taking me forward.
Yeah. And
also, most of it didn't start with me. I was just repeating the patterns of the cycles within my family. So
yeah, interesting. Yeah. So can you explain to everybody what Family Constellations is?
That's it. That's one of those questions people say, what is it? And every facilitator will give you a different description of it. And it is, I do have to say, to experience it is to really understand it on a deeper level. Obviously, it is a way of seeing, feeling, and letting go of what is standing behind you, what is standing behind an issue. Because a large percentage of what we experience didn't start with us. And as I said in my own life, repeating those patterns. So seeing where they come from. So it's pinpointing that timeline in your either in your own timeline from a traumatic experience that was not held and supported at the time, or going back into the family history of the timeline of when that began. And usually people say, oh, I know when I know what happened, I know why I'm this way. And I'm like, well, if you know, then you probably don't need a constellation. But if there's stuff that's sitting underneath that, so we know this much, but then there's more underneath it. So it's felt in the body. You'll have maybe a breath out, or your body will just relax. So it's somatic. It's energy medicine. So there's, as we know, we're all frequency, we're all energy. So we're moving the cells and the epigenetics within us. It's psychology, and it's around connecting to our true authentic selves as well.
Wow.
And you don't have to have been an actor, you don't have to have done anything. Anyone can step in and I say do Family Constellations. Anyone can step into a workshop and represent for someone else. Or resonate is another word that is floating around at the moment.
So I've observed it online, and then I've experienced it in person and received and held space for others, and I've found it really, really very, very powerful. And together you and I are co-creating an event here at Heart Place Hospital. So March the 16th, and that's a one-day event, and that event it's going to be a fundraiser, but we're also going to provide spaces for those in the front line. So so our listeners understand that Heart Place Hospital is about giving opportunity for our frontliners who are in front of our society on the daily, these opportunities of healing modality, cutting edge healing modalities that really work, that make a big difference, and we can then ripple effect that out to society, and then we can really start creating a simple and sustainable health and education system, which is our world is screaming out for.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So that's
What you're doing is an amazing thing for the burnout, for the people that have just got so much going on. And if they've got that happening in society and they've got that happening behind them, then it's like frying in the middle. So beautiful.
Yeah. So I mean, our frontliners are so vital, but if they're just robotically going about their roles, then really they're not being effective in that healing and education space. So, and that's why I felt really important to create this podcast, so that we can start highlighting ourselves, you, me, more, who have bravely stepped into these roles. And I say that because I know how, smashing glass ceilings, you get splinters along the way. So I'd be just curious to hear how that's been for you. Like how has it been, coming out of the spiritual closet? Like what's that been like for you with friends, family, society, and how have you managed that?
I think my friends would always say you were a little bit of a closet spiritualist anyway. You're always a little bit different. I know that those comments have been floating around with, old family friends and stuff. And I tried really, really hard to fit myself into that, that square peg into a round hole, or that marshmallow into the parking meter sort of analogy. Just don't fit. There's no way I'm ever going to get in there. So it's been liberating. I'm sure it's been painful. I've lost friends and moved through things along the way, but so liberating because I feel so much more authentic and connected. And lighter. Yeah. And then I get to meet gorgeous people like yourself, and
back
all of
at
those.
ya.
So, yeah, and that there's what am I trying to say? If you think it's going to be an easy ride, it's not, but there are resources along the way, and when you get up over that hill, that ride down is amazing. There'll be another hill, and it might not be as big.
Yeah.
And then there might be another big one way further on down the track. And I've got some stuff brewing up for myself at the moment, and I know it's getting a little bit sticky, and I'm like, it's okay, because the other side's going to be far out and phenomenal.
Yeah. You can say fuck on this podcast.
It's like, should I say fuck?
Yeah.
It's going to be phenomenal.
I think I love that analogy. I haven't heard it like that. I sort of say other ways, but I think you just kind of get fitter, don't you? Like, here's a hill. I'm fitter. I'm a bit fitter from last hill. So, and also a lot braver and more courageous. Like, actually, I don't know this hill, but I know someone else that knows this hill. So I'm actually going to check in with them and just say, hey, I'm just about to hit this hill, and I know you've done it before. Can you give me a little insight?
Yeah, because and often people that are have complex PTSD, which I myself have, finding support like cacao, but also in constellations, the more layers that you peel back, the more you are opening doors for the resources, the people, the friendships, and all of that to come in. And often you haven't had, when you're experiencing trauma, you pull back, so you don't often reach out, because it's almost like I have to be bigger to be able to survive. And constellations helps you found that balance, because it's about belonging, order, and balance. That's pretty much the theme of the work. So when you can find that balance, you're able to ask for support, and people start coming into your life.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Or the people around you that are already there, you can voice things that used to worry you are no longer a block.
Amazing. And I love brought out the words fitting in, and I suspect that's when, you know, the drug and alcohol was happening, trying to fit in. And then that beautiful belonging, and you mentioned cacao, which you're an ambassador for, and which is, if people aren't familiar with cacao, get familiar with it. But it's a beautiful plant medicine, ancient plant medicine that allows us to open up that heart space, but also nourish this meat suit, you know, that is carrying around the energy that is us. So you've got that in your kitty as well. So what else is in your kitty? What else is in there? I don't want to miss anything.
Well, we've mentioned cacao, so Cosmic Mama Cacao. Yeah. That's my brand. That's my little baby, Cosmic Mama. Reiki. I'm a drum maker. Drum birther, I should say. I'm a drum doula.
You're a doula.
I like that word.
Yeah.
I'm an artist. I love to create intuitive pieces for people, all bespoke, unique to each person, and they are. I don't do boats on water or vases of flowers. I do whatever the soul is asking for, the messages or what needs to be held for them. Mm-hmm. And then that painting is not just relative for the moment, but it's also seems to come through years and years. There'll be that message that is here for now is also relevant for something else in a completely different way. What else do I do? I'm a little bit of a herbalist. It's been a passion of mine for a very long time. I'm a grandmother, mother. I've just doulaed my mum through her transition. And help me out here, Jackie. What else do I do? I have lots of hats.
Yeah. I know you've hosted a sweat lodge. You've hosted sweat lodges.
Yeah, I collaborate with people. I love hosting other people as well as being hosted. I'm a constellation trainer, so one of the few that are in New Zealand that are training people, and organizer of the ANSCI, the Aotearoa New Zealand Constellation Intensive, that's happening here soon in New Zealand in April, and that's open for everyone.
Whereabouts is that happening, Trace?
In Taupo in April, the 4th to the 8th.
Oh, yeah. Cool. We'll put a link to that as well. Yeah.
That'll be great. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
We've got facilitators coming from around the world for that too. So, exciting! Yeah. Bringing the mahi into New Zealand. Our intention is, we'd like constellations to be a household word for people to know. In other countries, everybody knows about constellation. Yeah. Not every country, but there are a lot of countries around the world where it's just held in community, and they use it in the court system, and they use it in the hospital system. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Wow, amazing.
That's what we'd like for New Zealand as well.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like, where do you think society is evolving next? Like, what do you envisage next? There's been so much change, and this year we've just transitioned into what I call the constellational new year, as opposed to the Gregorian, and it's feeling pretty good.
Well, all of a sudden, one of my colleagues had been having conversations with someone who's very high in the court system. So it's like, wow, we're talking about this, and then now doors are opening.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Dream big.
Yeah.
Dream big.
Yeah.
Where do I start going?
It's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, imagine if we could constellate the teachers for their own stuff, and then they could see their children, the difficult children or the happy children. They could just see all their children in a different way, because the children are not reflecting back to them what is not in balance for them. Yeah. And then there's more of a solidity. They can hold that space for the children in a different way. And the same for the nurses and the doctors.
Yeah.
because they're all human at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
people trigger us, and
Yeah.
the more we do around ourselves and what we're carrying, or what's blocking us, or what the health issues. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I at my last bedside nursing role was a school nurse, and I would have teachers come down and say to me, with a child, and say, oh, they've got anxiety, that's what's wrong with them, and I would invite them to see that that's actually what's right with them, that they're having a somatic experience, and so I would actually turn to the teacher and say, how are things with you? Like, how are you? How's your energy? And that's when they'd share that they're in overwhelm or burnout or all those sorts of things. And it's always good to have a dog and a podcast. And it was
and a teenager coming home.
Yeah, I know, right? Keeping it so real. And that was when I was like, wow, this is, and I was already getting clear messages to care for the carers, but at that time I really did think it was happy thoughts and pedicures, but I realized it was actually it was more than that. It was the mindset, it was the energetics, and it was really creating the space for us to heal those boundary wounds. We've all got them.
Yeah.
And then what light comes from that space?
We see the kids as just the kids, and then if we look at, like you say, you look at the teachers, what's going on in the classroom, but then there's the family, mum and dad, maybe siblings, or maybe just mum, or maybe just dad, whatever, and then you could look at the wider family. So what's happening here, what's happening in the community. Maybe they live in a small area, or maybe they feel like they're completely lost in this big city, and then it's the country, so there's so many layers to what's going on, and also the sensitive ones, the ones that are coming through that is just so sensitive and misinterpreted.
That was you and I. Yeah. And
I think I was lucky that my mum was so disconnected and so disassociated that she didn't even want to look at me in that state at 13, 14. Because I know that deep down she was really worried that I was going to be put into Takanui or somewhere like that, like my cousin was at 13.
Yeah.
So mum just did this. Yeah. And I'm really grateful for that, because I'm grateful for the lessons that I had, because I did make my way through it. All the way through it, I always knew that I was going to be all right. I always had this real deep sense that I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I had to find, through that, I had to find resources. I had to find ways of, numbing, but at the same time using my gifts. And so now I can support others. Yeah, it wasn't an easy journey, but it's definitely been something that I can now go forward with and help others, like my boy who's got many gifts, and he's got me to support him and tell him that's actually quite normal. Yeah, you're okay. Yeah, you don't need Ritalin, you don't need medication, you don't need anti-anxiety pills. Yeah, we can do this, and we'll just put some clear boundaries up, and it's great.
Oh, love it. I call us the bridges. We've kind of experienced that paradigm, and then normalizing, or being examples of another. And everyone's got a choice. They can go there or go there. Yeah. So, and that's what I love now, is that it's still early days, but it's becoming quite okay to have these conversations, and like you say, we're not going to be institutionalized necessarily. Yeah. And I mean, even going back to what we're talking about with kids at schools, when I was when I was nursing, and literally I would sit them in nature and we would look at a flower and we would talk about how it contracts and in and outs just like us, and they've been in a classroom that the window's closed and other kids are in there and their family constellation sitting next to them and the teacher's family, so you've actually got this whole petri dish of energy sitting there, and then the bell rings and then you move into another petri dish. So it was really challenging because I could CPR them and get their nervous system regulated again, but then putting them back into a petri dish or back into the fire. And so I'm just so passionate about us as a collective collaborating, talking about this, showing up, and normalizing this. And we've all got science backgrounds, so we want to prove it as well. And I'd just be curious if you've got any sort of case studies or any stories that you could share us that you've seen. A shift.
Well, I'll give you an example within my own family system. So I two actually, because there's another one that's just dropped in. So first of all, my own family system was I wanted to look at my relationship with my elder brother. There was some energies that were not aligning and they weren't kind and blah blah blah. And yet I knew that there was a deep love there, but there was hidden behind lots of things. I could feel that love was there, but it wasn't being received. And in the family constellation, the facilitator facilitated me, obviously, and she put up my mother, my father, my eldest brother. So mum was 20 when she had him, and then she had another child at 21, my brother Peter, and then I think she was about 24 when she had Julie, and then 27 when she had me. So we were a little bit further than they were here. And she decided to line us all up so we were in order of age, so the eldest to the youngest. And so we'll go like this, okay? So the eldest here, youngest here. And these two were like, oh, there's something missing here. And I was like, so I'm witnessing this, I'm seeing it from the outside. And I'm like, hmm. And then the light bulb, I was like, oh yeah, I remember when I was about 7 and mum told me the story about how she lost a baby. And she actually lost him really tragically. She was 5.5 months pregnant and her tummy tore and she lost him. Took a couple of weeks for him to actually come out, and then the family flushed him down the toilet. So she never got to hold him, she never got to see him, and she was told to just get on with life, carry on. So there's this gap, right? And then she got pregnant again, and so she lost 2 babies. So I'm actually number 6. But I grew up being number 4, and the other 2 were never spoken about. So they belonged. Remember I was talking earlier on about belonging, order, and balance? They were 2 family members in our family soul that belonged, that were not being acknowledged or given a place within our family system. And so my sister, who was number 4, really number 3, really number 5, so she came into the womb after this. So there was a lot of grief and trauma and stuff in there. So she found life a little bit challenging at times. So she really struggled with dyslexia and communication and confidence. And after this constellation, I saw things for her completely unwind. Because we were all there. There was 6 of us and not 4 of us.
Yeah.
The energy between myself and my older brother just flowed beautifully, and over the years our relationship has healed.
Yeah.
Because I really struggled to be in the same room with him, and now I'm good. It's good, and our relationship is on a completely different level. And I saw my daughters, I saw them change in their relationship, because you drop a pebble in your pond and the energy ripples out. And my father and his brother, there was a connection for them that they hadn't seen each other for 15 years.
Right.
And they did about 3 months after that constellation. So yeah, it was just bringing in So the belonging, those who belonged, and then the order of things. So I wasn't number 4, I was number 6, and that's a different frequency, a different place in my family system, and it feels really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the energy is now flowing between.
I love that.
Yeah, and then I'm just thinking about another one where someone came to me for anxiety. That was the issue that they brought, that they thought they were looking at. Well, that's what they were looking at. And through the constellation, she revealed that she was adopted. And so I did some work around connecting her to her. So we've got like your nature family, the family that you're born with. And she also had a nurture family, the family that raised her, right? So she had that connection with her nurture family. So I energetically, through a constellation, connected her to her nature family, so the soul of where she comes from. And she was like, at the end of it, she was like, oh my God, I feel different. I don't understand. She just kind of sat there going, wow, this is amazing. Well, within 2 weeks, she got a hit on Ancestry. She'd been on there for 5 years. There'd been nothing at all. And within 2 weeks, she got a message from a lady who said, I'm your first cousin. I know your mother. She's my auntie. She and our grandmother was also adopted out by their mother, who was an orphan. So she came from a line of displaced women.
Wow, that is powerful. I full body tingles when you were telling me.
Doors open, those that ripple effect.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm like even more excited now that we're going to be offering this opportunity for others to come to Heart Place Hospital.
And at your place, your venue is so gorgeous.
I know. I mean, just coming here is great code, but to get your coding as well is going to be amazing. So exciting. Yeah. So we'll put a link in there, and like I said, it's a fundraiser, and we're going to be able to support those in the front line to be able to come along. And I guess the last question I really wanted to ask was, is there anything in your heart place that you wanted to share with us today? And then also just let everybody know where they can connect with you.
One of the biggest things I've learned through Family Constellations is around saying yes to life. Yeah. And how much strength you can get from that. When we say yes to life, we are connecting energetically to the family souls that we come from. And it doesn't mean that we're saying yes to the abusive parent that has, and that we're going to have them over for Sunday dinner or have them on our doorstep. But it's saying yes to the energetic imprints that come through us, the soul, the life force. And I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. If you can visualize, so behind you, Jackie, but that beautiful mandala, and if you could visualize that as a golden light, right? A golden life force behind you. And you're just leaning into that, and you've got all of this energy, the vibration, the frequency. So we don't only get the trauma, we get their gifts as well. We get all of their, the uniqueness and the gifts and the life, and and so they've done whatever they needed to do. Some of our ancestors have done some horrific things, and some have done amazing things, but without all of them we wouldn't be here. So so it's finding your way to saying yes to life, and that might not be easy at the beginning, but practice. And it could be just looking in the mirror and just saying yes to yourself. Maybe that's the start. I know for me, for a long time, that wasn't easy, but now, so good, so good. Thank you. And you can find me at Tracy Cartwright Constellations online, and also Cosmic Mama, cosmicmama.nz.
Yay, amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for this
Oh,
opportunity, Jackie. I'm so
oh,
excited for you and where this is going to
thank
go.
you.
Like,
Yeah,
you're just doing amazing things.
me too. I'm
Amazing.
super excited. Yeah, and I'm so
Mm.
pleased that you're on my broom. Yeah, love you so much, Cosmic Mama.
You too.
Talk to you soon.
Mwah.
Mwah.
All
Have a
right.
good day.
Bye.